All right, folks, here we are. It's the we're now into November, and we'll go ahead and get into one area we haven't really covered yet so far this year in the videos, and that is the different technical categories. We've mentioned, maybe one or two things about some of the tech categories here and there. But yeah, this is kind of the time to start diving into that. So we're going to go across all those. We won't go into like international feature. We won't go into animated feature, doc feature, the short categories. We won't go into those. We won't dip too hard back into those top 8 categories. We've spent a lot of time on those in the first couple months. There were a couple changes I've made here and there. But otherwise, because at the very end, we're going to go into the films that I have receiving multiple nominations right now. It's just kind of a fun thing I do like to do through the award season and stuff, just to kind of gauge, like, okay, what films, when we get to Oscars morning, are probably going to be vying for more spots than other films, and so on and so forth. But, yeah. So with that, we'll go ahead, we'll get started here, and if I do have to explain, because if there's one or two changes I made, if they do affect the total number of nominations a film is going to get, then we'll get into that as well. All right, so with that, we will get into the different tech categories, starting with our new mystery box category this year in the casting award. Now, we're going to see if this is kind of like the BAFTA casting award, which is like, okay, sometimes let's go for like just generally who has the best cast. Sometimes it's who has a big ensemble. Sometimes it's, oh, you only have one or two people, but we're going to put you in anyway. So we'll see what the Oscars do with this. But my 5 for now are One Battle After Another, Sinners, Sentimental Value, Hamnet, and Wicked for Good. Those are my 5. There's another reason for that, but we'll probably get into it at the end, because I think all 5 of these films do kind of shape up to be some of our more nominated films this year. They all have mostly moderate to, bigger sized ensembles. Hamnet maybe a little less so. That feels like more of a two-hander, having not quite gotten to that one yet. But again, like we saw with BAFTA, sometimes they like those small casts. That would be like films like The Two Popes that got in for casting at BAFTA that year, and it's really only Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce that were in the movie. I mean, again, there's more people technically in the movie, but it's those two take up a vast majority of the screen time. But anyways. Some other contenders here include Wake Up Dead Man, Marty Supreme, Weapons, Jay Kelly, and Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. I think those are ones that stand a shot, at least at getting into this category right now, but we'll see where we stand with that. The cinematography category is next. One of the most insular categories. This and Best Director are two of the more insular categories. A lot of repeat nominees. You'll see this in this category year after year. My 5 are Sinners, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, Frankenstein, and Marty Supreme. I kind of like these 5 right now. There's always room for, things to change here and there. One thing that was really weird, maybe I just had bad reporting on this, but for a long time this year I had listed One Battle After Another. I thought that one might struggle a little bit in this category, because it was reported at one or two sources. I swear to God, I remember seeing this. So I've checked everywhere again across multiple sources today just to make sure, and now it's not there. But I could have sworn for a while it was being reported that Paul Thomas Anderson also was a co-cinematographer on the film. I don't know if he's dropped all credit. I don't know if, there's nothing about that I've been able to read, but maybe it was just, like an insider joke or something, and then it got reported for real, and then, Warner Brothers had to back down on it or something. I have no clue. But I swear to God, I saw from like 4 different sources that he was a co-cinematographer, which I thought was going to be a problem, because this branch in particular, when we get to like the Cinematographers Guild especially, they really don't look favorably upon directors who shoot their own movies. Like Alfonso Cuarón shot Roma, and infamously that got left off the list at the Cinematographers Guild that same year. Again, really insular group, really do not like someone who's directing the movie to also step behind the camera too. They really like, their own cinematographers and stuff. And especially, again, if you've been nominated before, if you've won before, typically that does give you a good head start on some of the competition. So those are my 5. Some other contenders to watch out for would include Avatar, Fire and Ash. F1, Nouvelle Vague is a black and white film, so we always got to look out for those. Wicked for Good might sneak into this category. And Netflix's Train Dreams has some passionate voters out there, some people who really like the camera work in that. We'll see if it can make it all the way to a nomination. Film editing is next. The 5 I have here are One Battle After Another, Sinners, Hamnet, A House of Dynamite, and Sentimental Value. Those are my 5. This one, usually film editing is one of your more key categories. We talk about it every year, but there was a long-standing stretch there, basically over 30 years, where if you weren't nominated in film editing, you typically did not win Best Picture. The last one, I'm trying to remember here, Coda, I think, is our most recent Best Picture nominee not to get nominated in editing that I can recall, at least, but that's one that only got the supporting actor, screenplay, and picture. But yeah, otherwise, before that, you had to go back to like Birdman. Then before that, you had to go back to Ordinary People. I don't think I'm forgetting any in between, because I think even Nomadland, I think, got into this category in 2020. But yeah, so I feel like with these, it's like, yep, we know One Battle After Another, Hamnet, Sinners. We know those are going to be some of the more nominated films, more than likely. House of Dynamite is, war film type scenario and everything. It's Catherine Bigelow. I can totally see that one being a nominee. And then Sentimental Value, I think, is also going to be one of those upper crust kind of films that can also get into this category. Otherwise, F1 is probably one of the big ones I would really look out for here. The action movies, and in this case, the speedy racing movies. Sometimes they really, really make a dent in this category. Sometimes they just walk away with the win, too, like we saw with... Didn't Ford v Ferrari win this? I'm pretty sure it did a few years ago. Marty Supreme's another one I'd look out for here. Also, Wicked for Good has a chance of being nominated here as well. And if it really, really goes over well, I would also say kind of a real dark horse, at least to get nominated, would be The Secret Agent. If that one really does take off and it really becomes a favorite of Oscar voters, then look for it to really surprise us in a few key categories, this being one of them. Let's move on to the design categories now, starting with costume design. I have kind of a close call here for who's out front, because I think 3 films are really going to vie for it, and that would be Frankenstein, Hamnet, and Wicked for Good. I have those 3. Then Sinners, and then The Testament of Anne Lee is my 5th pick here. And with this one, I think I can see the arguments for Wicked. It did win this category last year. Hamnet, also a big period piece. Frankenstein also is a period piece. Sinners is a period piece. Testament of Anne Lee, also a period piece. Period pieces in fantasy and stuff, they all, really do dominate this category. Another one that we might look out for is Marty Supreme. If it really goes over extremely well, I would say One Battle After Another might sneak into this category. It's a more temporary, contemporary film, and costumes usually don't do that. We've seen some more contemporary production design nominees come through, but for costume design, no, you mostly want to be fantasy or period if you want to be nominated here. I would say Downton Abbey might also surprise us here. Phoenician Scheme actually might surprise us here. Sometimes Wes Anderson films can sneak into these categories too. On the production design side, I have Frankenstein, Wicked for Good, Sinners, Hamnet, and Avatar: Fire and Ash being my 5, which I feel pretty good about right now. I definitely look out for something like Phoenician Scheme to sneak in here. Marty Supreme, if that also turns into a kind of, second tier to third tier Best Picture nominee, like it gets, a couple top categories and then might sneak into a few tech categories down below. That could very well happen. Testament of Anne Lee could also get in here. Some people like the chance of something like the Fantastic Four getting in here for its kind of futuristic and altered design of, the cities and the worlds and stuff in that. So possibly. All right, let's move on now to the music categories. Yeah. Starting with the original score category, I really like Sinners in this category. I know a lot of people think Johnny Greenwood will finally get his first Oscar for One Battle After Another. I have him nominated here, but even though I know, Göransson just won a couple years ago here for Oppenheimer, that score for Sinners was amazing. I have to put it number 1 at least out the gate here. Hamnet I have in second, then One Battle After Another, Frankenstein, and Wicked for Good. the thing to worry about with Frankenstein, though, I believe that's Alexander Desplat. He has all of a sudden went from, he gets nominated sometimes multiple times a year, to all of a sudden he has, he's yet to be nominated, I believe, in this decade, believe it or not. Even when he had, like, what would have been like a shoo-in, like a nomination for something like Pinocchio, even then he couldn't get nominated. I will triple check my math on that, at least in the score category, because now that I'm remembering, Pinocchio didn't have a song to it, did it? If it did, it might have gotten a nomination that year for song, but I don't think so. No. Okay. Yeah, and he's only been nominated for scores. His last one technically was 2019 for Little Women, the year the film came out. So that's why that's what I mean by this decade. He has yet to be nominated. A film that's been released this decade, I think, is probably the more proper way to say it. So that would be one of his biggest dry spells here, really across his career, believe it or not. But then again, I look at it and I'm like, Frankenstein, I think, will clean up across a lot of these tech categories. It's on Netflix. It's pretty accessible. It's from Guillermo del Toro, who is it once or I think it's only once that he's Desplat has worked with Del Toro and gotten nominated, but I'm double checking his number of nominations here. Yeah, he's only been only once has he worked with Del Toro and been nominated, and actually he ended up winning that year for The Shape of Water. That was his second Oscar. Yeah, so those are my 5 there. Otherwise, we have Marty Supreme, Begonia, Testament of Anne Lee, kind of on the outside looking in. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Jay Kelly makes it in. That's Nicholas Britell, who's been nominated, I think, just once, but is still kind of a known name across the field there. We'll get into the original song category now. For this one, I'm seeing a couple potential Best Picture nominees getting in here. The first one being No Place Like Home from Wicked for Good. Then I Lied to You from Sinners. Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters. I have in here at third, I should say. Zoo from Zootopia 2 and Lose My Mind from F1 are my 5. And what's kind of strange, we could see Sinners and Wicked for Good actually both vie for double nominations in this category, which is kind of crazy. I just don't think there's a lot of buzz right now on a bunch of these songs. Like, I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite right now that I've heard. But otherwise, Girl in the Bubble's another one from Wicked for Good. Last Time I Seen the Sun from Sinners. Those were both submitted, at least. I know the 2 for Sinners were submitted. Otherwise, Relentless, which has the song Dear Me. Clothed by the Sun from The Testament of Anne Lee, and Train Dreams from Train Dreams are also ones to keep an eye on in that category. Moving on to the makeup and hairstyling category. My 5 here are Frankenstein, Wicked for Good, The Smashing Machine, Sinners, and Begonia. Those are my 5. I feel like this is a pretty solid start for this category. The Smashing Machine, this might be one of the few places that this film shows up, again, unless we see a surge from Dwayne Johnson. I especially say he needs something like a SAG nomination. A SAG nomination would be huge for him. Otherwise, some other potential nominees include Weapons, 28 Days Later, Kiss of the Spider Woman. One I can kind of see possibly sneaking in would be One Battle After Another. I can't spoil it, but there's one character that does have a makeup job kind of done for 1 or 2 sequences. Very, very realistic. I mean, it's short-lived, but if the Academy really, and this particular branch, really, really likes that kind of work, then yeah, I can totally see this one sneaking a spot away. If it's as widely loved across the Academy as some of us are suspecting. And then maybe Christie might get a nomination too here, another one, in the ring type of movie as well, kind of, again, similar to The Smashing Machine. Just a few categories left. We've got the sound category next. That one I have F1 out front, then Avatar, Fire and Ash, Wicked for Good, Sinners, and One Battle After Another getting into those 5 spots. Again, you put the action movie in, or a couple of them actually here, and then a musical. The one that I was really considering here and decided not to put in just yet is Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. Again, musical biopics tend to do well in the sound category. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is also a possibility here. House of Dynamite, Frankenstein, possibly even something like Tron Ares could get a nomination here. Then the last category will be visual effects. Here I have Avatar: Fire and Ash out front, and then Wicked for Good, Superman, F1, and Frankenstein being my 5. Now that means I don't have a Marvel film in. Typically Marvel films get in, so Fantastic Four would probably be my first pick here for an alternate. Mission Impossible might break in again. The last film, the most recent film before this, did get in for a few categories. Tron Ares could sneak in. If we want to see potentially more Best Picture fare get in, Sinners could sneak into this category. It was submitted in that category. Otherwise, Jurassic Park Rebirth could possibly break into this category as well. And then probably the last one being How to Train Your Dragon. That would also be one I would not say is totally out of the race yet. Okay, so that was kind of a relatively quick rundown of the various categories there. Really quick though, before we do get into the top films, as far as how many nominations you get and everything, if you have multiple nominations going, let me just talk really quick because last night I did just see Springsteen Deliver Me from Nowhere, and really I don't think I have a bunch to say about this movie because I just walked out and I didn't have a good time with this movie. It was a real slog, I can say that. It was 2 hours long, but it felt closer to like almost 2.5 hours. It really felt overlong, especially when we got into some of the stuff in the third act. It really started to drag. In particular, there's one kind of stretch of the movie, kind of late into the movie, where Springsteen hits the road for a minute and stuff. That just really drug its feet, and I felt like that section, even though it's only probably about 5 or 6 minutes of screen time, it felt like it went on for like 20, 25 minutes. It just really was kind of aimless. And I felt like that was generally a good way to summarize the movie. It's kind of aimless. It doesn't really go anywhere. It really doesn't shed a bunch of light onto Springsteen himself. By the way, if you're going to see the movie to see it as like a concert movie, like you see the posters, you watch the trailers and the ads and stuff, you say, oh, it's about, Springsteen will have a bunch of concert scenes. He has like 3 concert scenes in the whole movie. There's one toward the opening, and then there's a couple appearances here and there. Jeremy Allen White, he does a good job when he's acting as Springsteen, but when it comes to the singing, some of the stuff seems to be him, but I don't know, because I read a source very early on that said he did all of his own singing. I don't think he did. There's definitely a couple parts where I'm like, okay, that's just the recording. That's just Springsteen's recording. So possibly what could have happened when that was reported and stuff, that was like maybe a few weeks before Telluride and stuff, before the film premiered. It is possible they had a different mix going at that time with just Jeremy Allen White's voice, and then they last second decided it's better to put Springsteen's original voice over it. Because like in particular when they get to like Born in the USA, which they do show him filming that, and it was nice to see that because it was a real nice moment of levity, even though, yeah, I get, as other films and other music folks have pointed out, it's an upbeat song, but the message it's talking about and the subject matter it's talking about is a little bit deeper and a little bit darker than we would normally suspect, even though it is, an upbeat, tune to it and everything. It still acted as a moment of levity because the rest of the movie is such a downer. It is a real downer. It's like, okay, he walks around and he's like depressed the whole time, and he's kind of, feeling like he's, like trapped or whatever. And we go into some of his past. We go into his upbringing a little bit, how his father was kind of semi-abusive, and then, was a big alcoholic, and, was threatening to, beat up his mom and stuff and all that. And it's like, it's just a real downer. And that moment kind of had a little bit of levity to it. I was entertained by that. I thought, coming up with like the Nebraska album and stuff and his fight for that, that was probably some of the better parts of the movie as well. Just unfortunately, the rest of it around it just really couldn't grab me. And unlike other movies, like I always say, when you want to have like if you want to look to a film that's like a hardcore drama, does have some very, for no lack of a better term, depressing material in it, and overall is about some darker material. Manchester by the Sea. Manchester by the Sea does it in a way, though, where there's moments of levity. You like the characters, you get into the story, you're pulled into the story, because we learn at just the right time exactly why this guy is a little ostracized, being the main Casey Affleck character, and we recognize, all the inner demons, everything he's fighting because of one mistake he made in the past and everything, and how that just completely turned his life, almost 180 degrees from where it was going and stuff. That's just always, I say, one of the best movies of the last few decades, or at least the last decade in 2010s. That's probably up there in like my top probably 5 somewhere. That was so phenomenally well done. And yeah, that has a lot of dark material, but it never felt like it never felt like a true downer. It never felt like a movie where you walk out and you're like just feeling bummed, or it never feels like it's a slog. This absolutely did. So I was really let down by this one. I didn't think it was that good a movie. Jeremy Allen White's good in it. Jeremy Strong, especially in the second half of the movie, he gets some really key scenes. He's quite good in it as well. I wouldn't mind seeing both of them if the field allows it to get in. But I thought it was a real downer. I thought didn't have a lot of momentum. The pacing was all off. It's clearly, a personal story to some folks. Maybe Scott Cooper, the director, who also wrote the script. Maybe he was just really inspired when he heard the Nebraska album back in the 80s or something and wanted to do a movie about it. And this is what he put together. And I just don't think it's really fully formed. Because at parts, it is trying to be a full kind of biopic about Springsteen. In other ways, it's trying to be more of a character study. I just know. It just really didn't feel like it had a great direction to it. It had no momentum, no drive-through, like no where are we going now kind of type thing. Which, Springsteen himself, from what I know, not that I'm a person that's read like 3 or 4 biographies about him or anything, but he does seem like, again, kind of like Bob Dylan last year, a little bit of a mystery man. He doesn't love to do a ton of interviews, again, from my understanding, but he's been on Letterman, he's been on some of those shows and stuff, and all that. It's not like he's a total recluse. Bob Dylan is maybe a little bit more reclusive than, say, Springsteen, but I just didn't feel like it was a real great pick here for what they put together for a film. So I think score-wise, I think I landed closer to like a 4 out of 10. Like there's parts of the movies that do work. There's sections of the movie that I thought were interesting, but it does not come together as a whole. And at the end of the day, it's just not a very pleasant experience from a viewing perspective for me, at least. So I didn't particularly care for it. Okay, so so let's get into now the films that I have getting multiple nominations. And right off the top, after I put everything together, I realized I have not 1, but 2 giant, groundbreaking, record-breaking scenarios that are playing out here if all my nominations end up being true at this point. It's very early, so this is going to change, it's going to shift, don't get me wrong. But at the moment, I have Sinners coming out with a record-breaking 15 nominations. 15. It would be the most nominated film in Oscar history. Let me see if I can count them up here really quick. I have it in for picture, director, actor, supporting actress, original screenplay, casting, cinematography, costume design, film editing, production design, score, song. What am I forgetting here? Did I put it in? I have it in for makeup. I don't know if I mentioned that one. And then the sound category, yeah. So I have it in for 15 categories. 15. It's been submitted in 16 total categories. So yeah. And obviously it's been submitted like 3 supporting actors, I think 4 supporting actresses, which it's not going to pick up all those. Yeah, it's not going to be that strong. But I'm like, I look back, I'm like, wow. I said that's a lot. That's a lot of nominations for it. Now, right now, of the categories that it's probably most susceptible in, I would probably say Delroy Lindo for supporting actor. He could easily fall out. Possibly supporting actress could fall out of. I could see it missing, like, maybe the makeup category if there's some more passionate picks there. Possibly the sound category if there's more passionate picks there. Possibly. So it could fall out of, those categories and everything, but still, I have that way out, not way out front as far as, films with multiple nominations, but at 15, I'm like, that's a lot. Now, I get we do have a new category this year. That's going to help, make it easier for some of these films to possibly come close to breaking records and everything, but damn, 15 is a lot. One Battle After Another, I have getting into 12 different categories, so that's not very far behind either. I have that in for picture, director, actor, 2 supporting actors, 1 supporting actress, screenplay, casting, cinematography, film editing. I have it in for sound, and I have it in for score. So that's the field there. So yeah, and I have that one still winning Best Picture. Obviously, I think it won't be the front runner in all 12 nominees. Obviously, with supporting actor, it can't, unless it ties, it can't win both of those. Obviously, but yeah, I have it in quite a few categories there. Hamnet and Wicked for Good, I both have getting into 11 categories. Hamnet I have in for picture, director, actress, supporting actor, screenplay, casting, cinematography, costume design, film editing, production design, and score. And then Wicked for Good, I have that one in for picture, actress, supporting actress. I have it in for casting. I have it in for costume design. I have it in for production design, makeup, score, original song, sound, and visual effects, I believe. I believe those are the 11 I have it in for. And then the other one that I have also getting a bunch of nominations is actually Sentimental Value. I have that one right now at 10. So I have that one in picture, director, actress, supporting actor, 2 supporting actresses, original screenplay, the casting category. I have it in for film editing. I also have it in for international feature. We know that one's very, very likely to get that. So count that up. That's 5 films that have double-digit nominations. That has also never happened before. I did a real quick run through last night, and I totaled up, and there has been a few years. I'm trying to remember what the first one was. I think it was somewhere in the 50s. We had 3 films get double-digit nominations, and it's happened ever since, kind of more sparingly. I think I looked it up. 1977, I think we had The Turning Point, Julia, and Star Wars all get double-digit nominations and stuff. And it happens, a few times from there. Only once before, 2019, we had 4 films get double-digit nominations. That year we had, let's see if I remember now, Joker, we had 1917, The Irishman, and who's the 4th one? The Irishman. Oh, geez. I just looked this up here the other night, so I should have this. The Irishman, Joker. Oh my goodness, why can I not remember now? Hang on a minute. It's the second I see it, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we had 4 films get to double-digit nominations that year, and that's been the record. We have not seen any film top that. This year we could see 5 films come out with double-digit nominations. Now again, is One Battle After Another absolutely guaranteed to get 12? No, we could see it fall out, like Benicio del Toro or Sean Penn. One of the 2 could fall out for supporting actor. It could potentially fall out for, I'm trying to think what else it's even susceptible in, because it's going to be in for screenplay. It's very likely to get in for casting. Cinematography, yeah, that's in. It could even possibly, if it sneaks into one of the design categories or possibly even the makeup category or something, it could actually add to that total too. So, yeah, and I don't think it has an original song that it's contending in. Otherwise, I would probably say that one it could also jump into. But yeah, Hamnet, I think that one, could it max out at 11? Probably. I don't think there's much else I can add to it there. Like, it's not going to be an obvious contender for like the sound category. I'm trying to think here. It wouldn't. I don't think it's going to be a big contender in like hair and makeup. There's not going to be any other supporting performances to get in for that. I don't think so, no. So that one's probably topped out at about 11. I can't really think of way too much else. Wicked has room to grow. That one could maybe surprise us with like a director nomination if it goes over extremely well. I know Jonathan Bailey got in at SAG last year, but again, unless something really, really good happens with him this time, again, it'd have to be like he'd have to be more consistently nominated, I think, before I would predict him. I don't quite see it getting in for screenplay. I don't film editing. It could get into that one. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it. Again, unless it gets another song nomination or something. So that one has some room to grow. That could actually jump over one of the other contenders and be our second most nominated film. And then for Sentimental Value, that one could also fall out. It could only get maybe 1 supporting actress in. It might, if a weird scenario happens, it could fall out of director somehow. The casting category, that one's not 100% secure. Film editing, I don't think is 100% secure. But again, some of these other catch-all categories like cinematography and possibly score and some of those, maybe it picks one of those up in its place. So I think that one, it still has a good shot at hitting double-digit nominations, but it's, again, not guaranteed to do so. Otherwise, other films I have getting multiple nominations. I have Frankenstein actually sitting right now with 7 nominations. Again, most of those are in the tech categories, but I also have that one now getting in for Best Picture. Otherwise, we have a couple films getting 4 nominations. It was just an accident. I have that getting into Picture, Director, Screenplay, and International Feature. Again, I feel like that one, it's probably not totally maxed out at 4, but it's probably pretty close there. Begonia I have getting into 4 categories. And that one I have now in for Picture, for now. I have it in for Actress, I have it in for Screenplay, and Makeup. So I have that one getting 4. The Secret Agent, this one I have now in for Best Picture. I have it in for Actor. I have it in for Original Screenplay. And I have it in for International Feature. So that's the 4 I have it getting there. And that could possibly grow. Some other ones here. I have Marty Supreme getting 3 with Actor, Screenplay, and a Cinematography. Yep, I have that one getting 3. And again, that one very much could go up. Avatar I have getting 3 with the 3 tech categories. F1 I have getting 3 tech categories, including a song. No Other Choice I have getting Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, and International Feature, so I have that one getting 3. Testament of Anne Lee I have in for 2. I've moved that into Best Actress, and I have it in for its costume design. Otherwise, K-Pop Demon Hunters I have in for Animated Feature, and I have that one in for Song. Zootopia also into those 2 categories, and I think that's everything I have getting multiple nominations right now. So 16 films I have getting multiple nominations, which, without doing like the long trait here, I think that's pretty close to what we've seen the last few years. We've seen kind of a shrinking in the market for some of the films getting Oscar nominations and stuff. Nowadays, it's more common for some of these categories to fill in some nominations with films that the Academy has already seen. You know, we're seeing fewer and fewer films get 1 nomination and then nothing else outside of visual effects. Once in a while, we'll see that in some of the acting categories. Obviously, when we get to some of the, if we're not counting some of the feature categories, usually those are only eligible for 1 or 2 awards and stuff. The shorts obviously too. But yeah, I see another year kind of like 2019 where it's we have all these films that are really good and they're elite enough that they start taking over, and getting nominated in multiple categories, sometimes more than we are initially thinking and everything. So, yeah. So for the moment here, I guess since we kind of talked about some changes there, Springsteen, I've moved that out of a lot of categories. Jay Kelly, I've moved out of a lot of categories. Anything else that I've moved out of categories? Avatar, I dropped that from maybe 1 or 2. What else? I'm trying to think if anything else took a hit here since we've talked last, but not really. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I've got for now. I think we'll plan on doing a video at some point next week, and we will get into the initial nomination predictions for SAG. We've got, a little ways to go yet before SAG nominations come out. That's going to be early January. Obviously, we've got some time here before we get to the Golden Globes. That is going to be in the first week of December. Let me check the date here, because I think I have the date on that. December 8th is when those nominations are announced. So I think that's what day of the week is that going to be? The second Monday in December will be those nominations coming out. So, all right. So, we've got some time before we have to dig our heels in and totally pick those. We'll also start getting our regional awards there sometime. A couple of them start later this month, and then we'll see the rest of them roll out in December. Critics' Choice also will be around the same week as Golden Globes. I think it's actually just a couple days before Golden Globes, so they'll actually be the first ones out. But again, I don't like predicting Critics' Choice because, again, there's just, you can nominate, like, with the tiebreakers and stuff. Like last year, I think we had 8 nominees for Best Director, and they gave it to John M. Chu, who wasn't nominated like anywhere else. They can nominate pretty much as many as they want in all those categories. That doesn't make sense. Sometimes they go with 5 nominees, sometimes they go with 6, sometimes they go with 8. It just, after the tiebreakers and stuff, it's just too chaotic. It's just way too chaotic. So that one I usually step aside and just cover it once we have the nominations out, which we'll probably do that because we'll have the Golden Globes right around the same time. So we'll probably talk more in depth about that when we get closer to it. Otherwise, BAFTA, of course, BAFTA is still on the horizon. That'll be, I believe, because Oscar nominations are out on the 22nd of January, barring any more LA fires like we had last year, which unfortunately just kept delaying. It was kind of, a sad deal, obviously, for everyone out in LA that had to happen. But, BAFTA, I believe, was... Oh, shoot, I don't have that date in front of me here. I think that was about a full week before the nominations were out for the Oscar. I think it was like the 15th or the 16th or something, maybe the 17th. But yeah, that one will be early to mid-January, so we'll have some time on that as well. Obviously, the short list for BAFTA will come out. Or they call those long lists. I always screw that up. But yeah, the long list for BAFTA will be out first. We'll get the short list for the Oscars roughly a month and a half from now. They usually do it like a week before Christmas or so. Trying to think what else we have for major landmarks coming up, but yeah. So again, we'll be back next week. We'll talk some SAG nomination predictions, early ones, and I think after that we might take a little bit of a break, and we'll probably be back a few weeks after that as some more films come out, as we get more updates and stuff for various categories. We'll see if there's any shifts at the Golden Globes. One thing since the last video we did see a change in is Testament of Ann Lee, which has some music to it. They're submitting that in comedy and musical, which makes sense. So I've shifted that one over. I think I've just put Amanda Seyfried in right now for actress, comedy, musical, and I think that's the only one I have it getting right now. And then Is This Thing On, which I thought would be submitted in the comedy category. Bradley Cooper and Searchlight have decided that one's going to go into, or is it Focus? I forget which one he's with right now. They've switched that over to the drama race, actually. So that's going to be competing in drama. But yeah, we'll talk more about that stuff when we get a little closer to it. But yep, I think that's all I got for now. So no big giant ramble at the end of this one. We'll just go ahead and wrap it up there, and we will catch you sometime. Yeah, again, sometime next week. Don't have a solid date yet, but we'll go into the SAG nomination predictions then.